PC games on consoles. Dogs in funny suits. Get them out of there! While PC and console gaming can be quite separated at times, numerous titles share the mediums, even if it takes a while. Many console games eventually get a PC release, which is oftentimes met with roaring applause. Like you finally unshackled the prisoner, it's about damn time! So of course, you'd expect the same reception when a PC game spreads its wings to consoles.
The president's been shot.
Let's start with a classic, SimCity, created by the company Maxis, first released on PCs as early as 1989. Create your own city and you too will understand the life of government officials.
We need more housing. Or a third zoo.
SimCity is a game that'll never get old, no matter how many times you boot it up. You'll always find something new to try, with the game actively encouraging you to screw around and watch everything burn sometimes, featuring a toggle to turn on a monster attack, for example. While the PC was always SimCity's home, the series received numerous console editions, with not only the most notable, but the first one releasing it for the Super Nintendo as a launch title in 1991. Published and even developed by Nintendo. Yeah, they nabbed the SimCity license and made the SNES version themselves. They even changed the monster attack to a Bowser one from Super Mario Bros. But this is still classic SimCity, and honestly, it may be better than the original on PC. Nintendo added a ton of charm to the game, with background music everywhere, fun visuals with the character of Dr. Wright coming in to tell you shit's f***ed. They even added a lot in the form of new buildings. This felt like Nintendo had a ton of love and admiration towards the original PC game and just really wanted to make a version themselves. But keep in mind, this is on the Super Nintendo and uses a controller. So instead of just moving the mouse wherever you please, you now have to control a cursor with the D-pad, which isn't nearly as precise. Oftentimes I find myself overshooting or undershooting where I want to go, and the user interface doesn't feel adapted to the console enough. It still looks and feels like the PC release, and because of that, it can be tricky to click on specific things or know what some buttons do. And they released a damn mouse for the system a year later. If SimCity didn't use it, thank Christ Vegas Stakes did. It isn't too bad without a mouse though. I think it works fine enough with a controller and doesn't get too frustrating, mainly due to how simple the original SimCity is. However, it does immediately show the problem with bringing some PC games to console. But hey, for an older conversion, this holds up insanely well and was done with a ton of care, which bodes well for the other PC to console games. After SimCity, the sky's the limit.
The ants are winning.
Sim Ant, one of the many follow-ups to SimCity. I mean, they covered all bases. Sim Earth, Sim Life, Sim Farm. It was only a matter of time. Death, taxes, ants. In contrast to SimCity on SNES, Ant, plus the other Sim titles, weren't developed or published by Nintendo. This one specifically was actually published by Maxis themselves. I feel that the success behind City on the platform opened the floodgates for all these titles to go all over the place, which is both great and terrifying. Hey, more people get to play Sim Ant. Oh God. Sim Ant on SNES is alright. Compared to the original PC version, this one feels a lot more zoomed in and confusing to navigate. It works though, decent version of the game on console. No, you can actually use the Super Nintendo mouse in this one, which is a more than welcome feature. Lacking support for the Super Scope though, not realistic. The problem though, as these games kept getting pumped out on PC, they were getting more and more complex, which worked great on computers, but made console conversion so much more complicated. SimCity continued to get console games throughout the years, but here I have SimCity DS, released in 2007. While this isn't a direct conversion of a specific title, it just doesn't feel like they put the time in to rethink how SimCity could work on the handheld. Instead, it kind of adapted how it's designed on PCs to the interface of the Nintendo DS. What? It works, it just doesn't feel as optimized for the DS as it could have been. Everything's too small and awkward to select with the stylus pen. How everything's shown at an angle, while true to the PC game, it makes it clunkier and less intuitive to place objects with a stylus since your damn hand's in the way. It seems like it would have been a match made in heaven. The touchscreen can replicate a lot of the precision you get with the mouse. The problem is, they didn't make SimCity for the DS. They kind of just threw SimCity on the DS. Consoles just don't seem to be the right fit for many of these types of games, which is why sometimes they'll put out original games based on PC series just for these things. From the Sim series, only for Wii and Nintendo DS, we got Sim Animals. Now, why was this not on PC? PETA. It works well with the Wii Remote's pointer, but that just makes me ask why this didn't also release on PC. Hey, sometimes you gotta throw the console users a bone. In this case, it's Beaver Allen.
You, Windows.
But hey, the Sims series has been throwing console users a bone each and every entry. As part of the same Sim franchise as the previously discussed games, The Sims is one of the most successful video game series of all time because people love to use a keyboard and mouse to do weird shit. It's all about creating your sim and living life, customizing your place, getting a job, starting relationships, or none of that. Piss on the floor. Starting with the original Sims, that may have launched on PC, but eventually made its way to consoles 3 years later, the PlayStation 2, GameCube, and Xbox. Yep, here it is, the worst thing. The Sims on console oftentimes isn't bad, but it just isn't fun to control, man. Going from a keyboard and mouse to 2 thighs and a torso feels like I'm controlling Sims with a keyboard ball. Every action is crammed into the controller, but it's still not enough, and you have to go through all kinds of menus and different screens for action that would just require you to move the mouse and click on PC. Whenever I'd see The Sims on consoles, I'd get excited, but after 30 minutes of trying to make do, I would give up and just try to get into nicotine again. It's not unplayable by any means, it's just too clunky for me to really have fun playing with a controller. Well, The Sims on console was followed up by The Sims Bustin' Out, a game that was never on PC. This was a console-only joint on PS2, GameCube, Xbox, Game Boy Advance, and N-Gage. The GameCube! So The Sims on PC had loads of expansion packs, and by these you get more content in your game, like dogs and sex and cats. The Sims Bustin' Out is pretty much a new version of Sims 1 with various features from those expansion packs included, with the biggest feature being the ability to leave your house, which is where the title came from. Okay, moving on. It's more of the same from the last one control-wise, but on the Game Boy Advance, we have an entirely different experience that honestly feels a bit better to me. It's not trying to be a consoleized version of a PC game because it's on the GBA. They just had to flat out make a different thing entirely. This is more of an adventure game with RPG life simulation elements. You can't achieve the level of detail on consoles and PCs, so why even bother? Just make something that works leagues better on the Game Boy Advance while retaining the character of The Sims. Beautiful. The console version? I mean, if you're gonna play Sims 1 on console, you might as well go the bustin' out route. There's just more in this one. It's just, every second I play this, I just wish I had a damn mouse.
And careful what you wish for, because I got a rat instead.
The Herbs Sims in the City was a total console-only spit-off to The Sims. This one focusing on grungy city and apartment living, on boxing ferrets. Why this wasn't on PC, I have no damn clue, but it does feel a bit more tailor-made for console. While it maintains the tropes of a life simulator, Herbs is a bit more focused on getting to an end point. It's not as open-ended as a normal Sims game. You want to build up your rep across all the districts, and that lust is what drives you through the experience, whereas normal Sims games, I'm gonna make you piss your pants. This game looks like it tried Monster twice. The Sims 2 on consoles features a new control scheme where we aren't telling our Sims where to go with a cursor, we just control our Sims outright. Scared the shit out of me when I first played. This goes against everything I expect from The Sims, but I will accept it for the sake of my happiness. It's so much more enjoyable to use a controller with a control scheme like this. Plus, they have a story mode, multiplayer. I mean, sure, features have been cut from the PC game. That's generally the case with console versions, but honestly, this is a decent version of Sims 2, regardless of how many changes they made from the original. Such as no expansion packs, you couldn't just buy the Sims 2 Pets expansion for your game, you just had to flat out buy the Sims 2 Pets. Yeah, this was an expansion pack on PC, but on console, it's a standalone release. Controls just like the console version of Sims 2, which is a blessing. And it's just taking the gameplay of The Sims 2 and making it more focused on owning pets. Gotta be honest, this one I was getting pretty into. I mean, it's bitch easy to earn money, you just rub the mutt's stomach a bit. That's a new sync right there. And I found the house building and editing controls to be surprisingly intuitive on the GameCube controller. The Sims 2 console lineup is actually pretty well done overall. They even did a console exclusive spin-off, The Sims 2 Castaway, focusing on surviving on a deserted island. It felt like they were improving the state of Sims on console more and more with each new entry. Genuinely, these games, even if they remove some features from the PC versions, work well on a controller. They feel optimized for them. But when The Sims 3 launched on Xbox 360 and PlayStation 3, it's The Sims 3! No, this wasn't supposed to happen! This is pretty much the base PC game on consoles with barely any features removed, which is good because, like I said, the previous versions would cut content, and this is basically the exact same game. But because of that, we lose the direct control we had in The Sims 2, and my god, do I miss it. Sure, pointing and clicking where to go is way more true to how The Sims was always meant to be played, but there's being true to yourself and not changing who you are to conform to society. And then there's just not taking a shower. For God's sakes, take a fucking bath! I liked how this was a bit different from the PC game. Sure, we're missing some features, but they made up for it with enhanced control and some new exclusive content. And I'd much rather take that than this, which is impressive, no doubt. It's a pretty faithful Sims 3 experience. But this is what I was talking about earlier. This just isn't fun for me to control. I might as well check out the Wii version then. I mean, the Wii Remote's pointer can easily replicate a mouse. So, of course, in this version, you have direct control of your Sim. So, the version with a mouse replacement has you controlling your Sims like in The Sims 2 on consoles, and the version with a standard controller has you pointing and clicking. We're just doing things that make sense today! I guess the pointer controls plus the direct control option would make the Wii release the best of the bunch, but it is on the Wii. Say, I get better control for worse performance. Maybe the DS version will, god damn it. Now, The Sims 4 was basically a one-to-one conversion. You even get the same expansion packs from the PC on consoles for the first time ever. The Sims 3 still did the standalone pets release thing, but because of the parity between versions, controls are still clunky point and click here. It's great that console users get the same exact game now, but what if I don't want that? Well, wrapping up the Sims discussion, we have to mention My Sims, a spin-off of the series made specifically for the Nintendo systems at the time, Wii and DS. It's kind of like how The Herbs was an attempt to consoleize The Sims, but this time, we have custody. My Sims did actually get a release on Windows, but it's very apparent how laser-focused this game was on capturing the Wii's audience. The Sims in this game look far more like Mii's than Sims. The gameplay feels much more akin to something like Animal Crossing, with you needing to rebuild your town by crafting and customizing furniture and housing and collecting things through the power of friendship. I don't know, isn't this from the series with the piss meter? Yes, a far more family-friendly, cutesy take on The Sims. Of course, when you whittle the franchise down to anything under a PG rating, you're pretty much left with a furniture builder. That's My Sims! Hey, the game did well enough to get numerous follow-ups. My Sims Kingdom was more of a linear adventure, going from island to island solving residents' problems. My Sims Party, My Sims Racing, My Sims Agents, My Sims Sky Heroes. That's a stretch! After all these games, I'm not really sure what the My Sims franchise was. Yeah, you can have them on weekends.